Hello, everyone, and welcome to the big show. This is Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trading Academy. If you're a first time listener, thank you for stopping by. As always, I am your host, Josh Lillquist, and yes, today I do have my good friend, and he is a good pal, Al. I wasn't even trying to rhyme there, but my good pal Al back on the show here today. Al, how you doing today?
Great to be back, Josh. I missed probably the last couple of segments.
You did. You know what? It's nice having you back because you just that smiling face, that knowledge that you bring to the airwaves, and our listeners are pretty happy today, I think.
Okay. Well, now the pressure is on.
Pressure is on. Al, we've had a great
smile like an handful.
There you go. They're exactly right. And you don't look like Brad Pitt. That's me, of course. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. For those of you watching the YouTube stream,
is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, probably wondering what the heck are they talking about? But we got an action-packed show for our listeners here today, Al. We have obviously geopolitical impacts around the country, all around the world. Corporate highlights. We have Roku that's showing some improvements. Corn Ferry, who knows what that stock is. Jabil, I believe that's how you pronounce that. It's an Apple supplier.
Right.
Some great moves for them this week. Obviously, the markets, the Fed interest rate decision this week, and we've been talking over the last couple of weeks how they quote unquote have been saying they're going to lower rates, but we know what happened here this week. But obviously some great moves in these markets, and we're going to discuss some of that stuff here today. But before we do that, our sponsor, Trading Academy, on their 28th year, teaching people just like you how to invest, how to trade. Trading Academy is an academy that trains the skills of investing or trading. A lot of people think it's just knowledge. Well, we're dropping some knowledge here today on the show, and it takes a little bit of skill building to do some of the things that we're talking about. And that's what Trading Academy does. It's a physical place you can go right here in Bloomington to build these skills. We have workshops and in trading and investing classes that I'll be giving away seats to a little bit later for people to get into these markets if they're brand new and don't know a stock from a rock, or if you're a seasoned investor but you're looking to level up a little bit. We have strategies and content and concepts designed for any type of market condition, but also any type of strategy, whether it's income strategies. So say, for example, you work during the day and you want to have an income strategy at night, or a retirement strategy. You're planning for your retirement. A lot of people listening right now are probably in their 50s, 60s, and they're thinking about retiring and planning for it, and they're trying to build for that. And we're going to talk about different strategies that are designed to tackle that. So as we do that, obviously we had a great week in these markets. Just pulling up the S&P 500 here. The S&P 500 over 6,000 again here, just about 6,005 according to the time of the show here today. But nearing those all-time highs again, Al. The NASDAQ 21,800-ish as the market continues to move, and very close to all-time highs there. The Dow Jones 42,380, right around there. A little bit slower of the three, but still showing some nice gains from April the 7th, which is the low that we've been talking about for quite some time here. A couple of stocks that we'll be talking about. We'll get into Tesla a little bit. Apple, we'll talk about that since they had that supplier, but we have some great moves in these markets, and a lot of people are reaching out to the Academy, Al, right now for guidance or assistance on how to tackle some of these market moves, how to be in these positions or opportunities, and not just buying and holding forever, but looking to have a strategy designed to pull income out of the market. I know you're helping a lot of people do that, but what are you seeing with these markets and these opportunities, especially the last couple of weeks here?
Well, the opportunities, we're seeing the opportunities, Josh, and people that understand the market and understand how to take advantage of it are benefiting from these opportunities. But most of the people out there, the public, the retail traders, they see these big moves up and down. And when we're seeing them come into our classes, they're saying, hey, I'm not benefiting from this. How come? What's going on? And I think that what's happening right now, it really kind of exemplifies why the public doesn't do very well and why we have a retirement crisis in this country. We see these big moves up. You mentioned geopolitical issues. Well, typically when there's something that hits the wires, and it could be something big dealing with Israel and Iran, or it could be Ukraine and Russia. Those are things we can't as a public anticipate those things. But what happens is that we see big moves, which are often quickly countered. So if you see a big move up because of some kind of a geopolitical announcement, then typically the public jumps in when? Right at the wrong time, right when it's getting ready to roll over. So institutions are taking advantage of the public more so now, I think, than ever, because they know how the public will respond to these things. The problem is by the time the retail traders, the public, gets into something, the institutions are already getting out.
Yeah, a good example of that, Al, is oil. This past couple of weeks, I mean, you have oil that has shown an increase in price, quite frankly, 40 right now, currently a 30% increase since May of this year.
Right.
So what happens is people are probably now getting into oil after the moves happen.
Right.
So that's what happens when you see these moves, as you're alluding to, as it goes up, and then people get in after. So how are you helping people change that a little bit?
Well, you have to understand that the surprises that are out there that move these markets are only surprises to the retail traders and to the media, the mainstream media. The people that are moving the market, they already know what's going on. They're so well connected. They know the CEOs, the CFOs of these companies. They know maybe some of the technicians, some of the people that are inventing or creating these new products. So they're way ahead of the public. And that means that typically when the public finds out about something, it's news. It's new. What is news? News is something that's already happened. And that's of very little value. What you need to know is how to know what's going to happen next. How do you anticipate what these people that control the markets, control price movement, how do you anticipate what they're going to do next? Well, it's because of the way they have to trade, and because we have developed a strategy called core strategy that is designed to kind of find what they're doing that they're trying to hide.
And we're going to talk about that in the second segment here as well, Al. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But as Al's talking about different opportunities in the markets, it takes a little bit of, knowledge, obviously, as far as what's available, right? And then starting to build these skills. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I kind of kicked the show off here today. We have trading and investing classes and workshops to help people gain some insight. We're a physical academy, the trading academy, to learn these skills and get started if you're brand new, or if you're looking as a seasoned investor and you're looking to have more confidence and more consistency in those trading or investments that you have. So I'd like to invite you to a free trading and investing class locally here in the metro area. We have locations all across the metro where we do have our state-of-the-art facility right here in Bloomington. But to come into one of these free trading and investing classes, you got to text right now. Text the word investing to the number 210-210. And that's for 2 seats, one for you and a friend at this free trading and investing class. Or go to tradingacademy.com and you can pick your own seat and your own date there. As I mentioned, Al, we're going to talk about that strategy. We're going to talk about different opportunities in these markets, supply and demand. So stay tuned. We're going to get into that stuff. This is Josh and Al with Investing and Trading Live. We will be right back. We'll stay live on YouTube. Hello, April. Hello, Benjamin. If you can move a little bit forward, Al, so we can get you on the screen. I don't know if you can or not. But,
yeah, there you
go. But we're right on the edge of it here. All right. We've got a few viewers right now. Any questions, April or Benjamin? All right. So 18, 19, 21 is Saturday?
Correct.
I recorded the last show on my phone, actually. It sounded really good.
Yeah.
Could you tell it was?
Just because there were a couple times when it just faded a little bit. It just was a little, I could tell, but I don't know that people.
Could have been because I had stopped and started a few times in there.
Could be. So were you driving while you were doing it?
No, I was no.
All right.
That would be frowned upon.
That would be frowned upon for sure.
All right, 1450. Well, what was the question that you had talked about in there? I forgot. What
was
we're going to hit up next?
We were going to talk about core strategy, how we can take advantage of these opportunities that the pros are taking advantage of.
Okay, following the institutions then. Okay.
Right.
Okay. All right, here we go. Segment 2. Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trading Academy. In the last segment, we did a short market update. We had the S&P 500, the Dow, the NASDAQ, all reaching near all-time highs again. The Dow is the lagger of the three, slowing down a little bit. Obviously, we have oil that has been showing some huge opportunities over the past, couple months here, actually. And reaching about $77 per barrel, currently right around 72. So as Al was talking about in that first segment, with these markets showing big movements to the upside or to the downside, what happens a lot of times is people try to get in or out of positions after those moves have happened,
Mm-hmm.
so they're late to the party. So we're going to talk about in this next segment here our core strategy, which is designed to get in or out of these markets before these moves happen, so you can hopefully, the goal is obviously to increase your odds, but your probabilities to capture more of the gains there. So we'll talk about that here. One thing I didn't mention in our market update, obviously we have gold reaching about $3,470 or $407 per ounce. We actually got to $34.72 this week, so a nice move with gold as it continues its surge to the upside, very close to those all-time highs again. That's pretty cool with that. And for us gold holders and also silver holders as well, this one here popping up to almost $37 per share. We actually got over 30, not per share. Gold is not priced in shares. It is priced as an ounce in a contract. $37.32 roughly is the high. That happened on looks like on Wednesday. So great for silver holders. So these quote unquote, and we've been talking about this over the past seems like years now, of this safe haven where gold is typically the safe haven. So the concern that I have, and this is just my very biased opinion, is if we have these safe havens, quote unquote, increasing in price, is that telling us something? Is that a leading indicator telling us there could be some turmoil in these markets moving forward? So the smart money going into these safe havens, that might be something to be concerned about or think about to be prepared for. And we're going to talk about that in the third segment here today. If you feel that you have retirement accounts and accounts that you want to protect over time, well, we're going to talk about different strategies to protect in the third segment here. But we had a lot of people texting in and going to the website for the free trading and investing class. That it seems like we're doing so many of this throughout the month, Al. It's crazy. So many people, so many great people are coming into these classes to build these skills and to learn about what these concepts are in the financial markets. So if you missed seats for that, I'd like to invite you just by texting the word investing. So if you're driving, you might want to pull over. Text the word investing to the number 210-210 right now for 2 seats for a free trading and investing class right here at the Academy or a location near you. We're going all across the metro, north, south, east, and west areas. So that way we're coming to a neighborhood near you. Text the word investing or go to tradingacademy.com. So text investing to the number 210-210 or go to tradingacademy.com. Also, follow and subscribe to the podcast, Al. We've been making this the global #1 podcast in the financial markets, helping people with that financial literacy. Go to Investing and Trading Live, wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. So, Al, with this segment here, we talked about the big moves in these markets, but also slow moves as well. Mm-hmm. But you need a strategy that is designed to follow the institutions, follow the smart money. Because if you look at the stats, institutions, roughly 80 to 90% of the activity in the market is actually institutional money. That's who's moving these markets. So us as a retail investor, quote unquote, the public, needs to identify where are they buying and selling, because if they're moving the markets, that's all we need to do, and then have odds and probabilities around that. Talk a little bit about how somebody is able to develop this type of strategy and some of the key concepts that you think people need moving forward hard with having consistency in their investing or trading world?
Well, the first thing that you have to understand is that there's only one thing that can drive prices higher, and there's only one thing that can drive prices lower. That's either sudden demand or a sudden supply. And that, let's talk about the demand part. Let's just call it a surge, a demand surge. That happens on the floor of the exchanges. If you have seen videos of what the trading pits used to look like, or the exchange floors, you see all of a sudden there could be a flurry of activity. And that activity happens when somebody learns something or somebody makes something knowledgeable to the other traders on the floor. That happens before the public can get in. So if that demand happens before major announcement or before news comes out, these people obviously know something that's very important well before we do. So how do you take advantage of that? Well, you want to use something that as closely as possible before the rest of the market catches on tells you what's going to be happening. We don't want to, we can easily tell what's happened in the past. How much value is that? Limited value. What's really valuable is what's happening in the future. Mm-hmm. Why does our core strategy help you be able to do that? Well, it's because it, at its core, at its heart, so to speak, it's based on something that factually can't be argued, and that's that relationship between supply and demand. Success is knowing how to use that to your advantage. And basically what it will do, if you can learn, it's not just knowledge. You mentioned the word skill. And the skill building is the important part of this. How do you develop the skills to use the knowledge that core strategy is giving you? And that's what comes with repetition of using something that we know over the course of 28 years, we've kind of refined and built that core strategy. So it really is very accurate in its ability to identify where price is going to move before other people know about it. And that's the key to success. You have to be able to make a move, either get into a position or get out of a position before the rest of the people do, to really benefit from it.
So now knowing that, Al, why is it so imperative to have a place to go to build this? Because you can't watch a video and learn that on YouTube or read a book. Why is it so important to have a place like Trading Academy, which is what the Academy does, train these skills?
Yeah, and that's a great point, Josh. We not only provide the knowledge. I mean, we have instructors that live these markets, that were floor traders, hedge fund managers. They can give you all the knowledge in the world out there, but that knowledge really is of little value unless you know how to use it and when to use it. And the best way to do that is to learn how to use the knowledge with somebody that already does it, already has gone through the trials and the errors. Every mistake that people can make has been made by somebody. So why not learn from somebody who understands what those mistakes are? And what we do at the Academy is really kind of create a relationship, almost a partnership, if you will, with our students. So they always have a place to come. They always have someone to sit with face to face, not sending an email to somebody or looking at a YouTube video and trying to get a question answered.
Or worse yet, some hotel seminar coming in for a couple of days and never seen them again.
Right.
Which is what you're seeing pop up again. Those used to be around back in the early 2000s. They kind of disappeared for a while, but they're popping up again. What I've been hearing from some friends that have checked them out, because they wanted to check them out, they're like, yeah, they come in and then they disappear and you never hear from them again.
Right. Yeah. Well, they'll come in, they'll take your money and tell you they have this great strategy that you can use, but you can't listen to somebody talk for a day or a couple of days or even 3 days, and all of a sudden you're an MBA, PhD level trader. I mean, you can't teach somebody how to be a neurosurgeon operating on your brain in 3 days. I would not get on a commercial airliner with a pilot that went through 3 days of training. You know, it's a repetitive thing that you need to first of all identify a strategy that you know gives you the opportunity of being consistently successful. And to do that, it has to be a strategy that will show you how to enter a position at the point at which you have the greatest probability of it moving in your favor. If you buy something, it has to go up in value for you to benefit. So if you could identify as precisely as possible the entry price where that was going to happen, that really increases your odds of being successful. And then the other thing is there any profit there? Yeah. Well, how do you determine where the profit is? You have to be able to identify not only where the price is going to start going up, but where it's going to stop going up. And those are visible to you if you have the right skills to use the knowledge to identify and use that to your favor.
Yeah, and that's why we do have these free trading and investing workshops and trading and investing classes to learn what these concepts are. So I'd like to invite you to come into one of these free trading and investing classes just by texting the word investing to the number 210-210. That's for 2 seats, one for you and a friend. Or go to tradingacademy.com and you can pick your own seat and your own date there. So you meet with a lot of people here at the Academy. People are coming in. It seems like they're flooding in these days because it's pretty cool. I was having a conversation this morning with somebody, and it's pretty cool because people are understanding there's other things they can do now. You're not stuck to trusting an advisor or broker and hoping that they get you to where you need to be at retirement time, because we all know that's not happening for the majority of the U.S. So they're saying, I need to do something different.
Yes.
So what are some of the things that you're hearing when people are coming into these workshops, what they're looking for guidance on and help with?
Sure. Well, let's first of all find out what they need to do something different than. Wall Street is basically, they're tracking money flow. They're creating money flow, and they're using that to their advantage. But at the same time, they're convincing the public just to do a buy and hold strategy, something that they don't use. The professional traders out there are not putting together a portfolio and then holding onto it for 10 or 20 years. They're using different assets and strategies that can take advantage of these short-term moves we see and even long-term moves. Most people, and I use a 401k as an example. Most people that have a retirement account have a 401k. And I would guess if we lined up 1,000 people, Josh, and asked them to write down what's in their 401k, 2 or 3 would be able to do that. Yeah. The rest would go, I forgot, or I don't really know. But I'm just told if I hold on to it, I'll be fine.
Think about this for a second. What you just said there is the majority of people work all their lives,
right?
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, sometimes 60 years, hoping to have enough for retirement. And that's the key word, is hoping.
Right.
And they have no clue. So they're trusting a stranger to get them there. And that's why we've been having so many people come to these classes, because they're realizing, hey, you don't have to trust that stranger. Quite frankly, they're saying, I want to be able to learn this more, have more insight on it myself. Yeah. So that way they can say, here's where I need to be, and here's what I need to do to get there. And that's why we have these free trading and investing classes to help them get started with that too.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to understand that everybody listening is different. Wherever you're starting financially is going to be different than the person that you can turn to your right or your left and look at. You start from a different financial position. You want to end up in a different financial position. In fact, ask yourself this now: are you where you want to be financially? Are you comfortable with where you want to be if you're still working? Are you comfortable with where you thought you were going to be or want to be when you retire? And we're getting a lot of people that are close to retirement or in retirement that are coming in saying, hey, I trusted what these people said about my 401k. And I realize now I've got more years left than I have money to get me through those years.
Yeah.
So, and they're asking for help. What can you do? Well, there's always an opportunity. It doesn't make any difference what's happening in the market, whether it's going up, down, or sideways. And by the way, if you're only participating in one direction, which is what that buy and hold strategy does, what the majority of the public does, they will buy something, hope it goes up. Well, the market goes down and sideways more than half the time. So if you're not participating in those directions, you're missing out on half or more of the opportunity for you to benefit financially.
Yep.
So you need to know the right assets to use for down markets, sideways markets, better assets to use for up markets, and the strategies to use them in different market conditions. That's what we teach.
I like that. And you mentioned, people are asking, what can I do differently? Well, let me help them out with that. Well, that's why we have free investing and trading workshops right here at the Academy and all across the metro at different locations to help you gain some insight, gain that financial control. And I think that's a big thing you've been hearing too, Al, is that people want more control over what their future looks like. So if that's you, all you got to do is text in. I mean, everybody, you're probably texting right now as you're listening to the show. Text the number 210-210 and then text the word investing. So text investing to the number 210-210. And that's me for 2 seats for a free trading and investing workshop to help you get started with whatever goal or objective that you do have and gain some insight and learn what you can do to have more control in your future. Text investing to the number 210-210 or go to tradingacademy.com. Coming up next, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about those retirement strategies, how to build a strategy, what you might need in there, and how to have more confidence going into retirement time. This is Josh and Al, Investing and Trading Live. We will be right back. Oh, sure. Yep. All right. How to gain financial control. Okay, so retirement strategies right after that, do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, and we can continue that into the fourth one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Save that bad boy. Any viewers on the YouTube? I got a bunch here. Any questions on the YouTube? Feel free to ask any questions. We can talk about any stocks if you want to analyze that or gain some insight on the stock market. And we'll talk about retirement accounts on this segment here. And what was the question? Why the 2-hour class?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I may need to see that again at one point if I forget.
Okay.
1050. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Segment 3. Here we go. Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trading Academy. As always, I am your host, Josh Lillquist, with my good friend Al Connick on the show, dropping some knowledge, some insight on these financial markets, helping people gain that financial confidence. As we know, there's a lack thereof financial literacy in this world, and that's what we're doing, is bringing that financial literacy back to the public, taking more control of your finances. If you miss seats for that free investing and trading workshop that we do all across the metro. Matter of fact, we have these all across the country, but we are local here in Bloomington. We're a local academy. So Trading Academy is a local trading academy to build these skills of investing or trading, whether it's short-term income strategies or long-term retirement strategies. And we have free trading and investing workshops to help you get started with whatever journey that you're looking to go down. Text the word investing to the number 210-210 right now for 2 seats for a free trading and investing workshop. If you're driving, you might want to pull over. Text investing to the number 210-210. When you do that, you're going to get a text right back. There will be a link to our landing page there. Just click that link, pick your own date and time, whatever works on your schedule. We have these classes all throughout the week and the weekends. Also, you can go to tradingacademy.com and you can pick your own seat and your own date there for that free trading and investing workshop. So Al, in this segment here, we got a couple things we got to get through. So we got a short amount of time and a lot of content to cover. We have a lot of people that are building for that promised time, that promised land, the golden years of their life, and they don't want to spend those golden years at the Golden Arches. Now you may be wondering, what is he talking about? Well, it is retirement time. It's that time we want to be able to spend time with the kids. It's time with the grandkids. Usually it's not the kids, it's actually the grandkids. Spend the money on the grandkids, be grandma and grandpa daycare at one point, but really be able to do the things that you choose to do, whether it's golf or do some more travel. I've been meeting a lot of people that want to travel more at retirement time, but they're like, you know what? I need some extra, I have a gap that I need to fill. They have a retirement account. Some people, very nice retirement accounts, but they know if they start drawing from it and start doing those fun things, it's just not going to last that long. I mean, you got sometimes people who have several $1 million in a lifestyle. That's going to go pretty quick when you have your hand in the cookie jar. Maybe the market goes down, that hand's in the cookie jar. Right. But if you have a broker advisor, quote unquote, managing it, we'll just call it holding it, their hand is in the cookie jar. So you got 3 hands in there. Well, we all know it's not going to last through that promised time.
And there's one more hand in there too. That's the government. So when you're taking money out of that retirement account, the government's right there to take their
I forgot
fair
about
share.
I forget, quote unquote fair. That's that's another 4-letter F word in the industry, isn't it? So you work with a lot of people out that have been coming in that are planning for retirement. 40s, 50s, 60s, even their 70s, and sometimes they're like, hey, I need to plan for retirement at one point. Now is when I'm doing that. And it's never too late to get started, but you got to get started.
Right.
What are some of the things that you're hearing people want to be able to do those fun things in retirement time, and how do you help them build a plan for that?
Well, and that's a good point. I think here's what people want. This is, a lot of people think, well, how do I become rich? What's rich? Well, that's different for different people. But
also, rich is different than wealth.
Rich is different than wealth. But I think what most of our students are looking for is freedom of time. That's the most valuable asset you have. But it's the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it and not have to worry about the financial part of it. That's really what being rich is. But how do you do that? Well, there are assets out there. You can think about it. You have to admit there are a lot of rich people in this world. Those people, for the most part, were not born that way. They weren't always rich. They did something to get there. They made a change. They took some steps towards doing something different. And that's what we would like to help you with. The first step that you can take maybe is to come to one of these free 2-hour classes. So why would you want to come to the 2-hour class? What are we going to cover in there? Well, let me just go over a couple of things. We're going to talk about the strategies used by the pros to profit when the market's going down. Most people don't know how to do that. We're going to talk about portfolio protection for when the markets do go down, when they do crash. And that is just a part of the market, by the way. It's always going to happen. And then this is the most important thing. We're going to talk about how to identify when to buy and when to sell. And we hear this all the time from people that say, yeah, I understand the stock market. I understand the option market. I just don't know when to get in and when to get out. What's the most important thing is knowing when to get in, when to get out.
It's an interesting comment there. A lot of people say, oh, I understand the stock market. It goes up, it goes down. I get how it works.
Yeah.
Well, I also understand how brain surgery works. But you can't do it. No. So there's two different things, understanding it and actually being able to do something with it.
Yeah.
And that's why we have these classes, to help people with the strategies to actually the do part of it.
Yeah. And one of the things we also talk about, Josh, are the common mistakes that the novice trader, that the retail traders make, and that they continue to repeat. In fact, I'll bet if we did a class, if we did a 2-hour class on the mistakes people make in investing and trading, it would probably be a class that would be exactly what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening right now and you're listening to the live YouTube stream, just going to Josh Lillquist on YouTube, type those in. If you have those common mistakes, type them in, and we'll talk about that stuff.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and our goal again, we'd like you to come in to visit our center. We have a physical location with people here who are full-time traders, people that live this market that are there to work with you. We want to show you how we can kind of create that relationship with you. Come in, maybe meet some of our students, or at least see the facility. We have a high-tech facility here where we teach classes, where people can come in and they can sit with us and work with us to help them to follow the path that's right for them, but to do it successfully.
I just want to address something, just kind of clarify something. Al mentioned, people that are full-time traders. You don't have to be or even want to be a full-time trader to get in these markets. And quite frankly, you dictate what that is. So if your strategy allows you to trade once a week or twice a week or once a month, or your time, I should say, your strategy will allow that, but you need to build that strategy. So don't think you have to become a full-time trader.
That's a good point.
That's not necessary. Wall Street will tell you that. Right. And your broker will tell you all that stuff because they're scaring you so that you don't pull your money from them, because that's how they're making money, is by just having you in the market. So when you do things yourself, there are ways to manage your accounts manage your portfolio based on your time and your strategy. So I hate saying the word passive because it can be misleading, but there are strategies designed to do it just like that.
Yeah. In fact, why don't you do this? Come in and tell us how you want to trade or invest. And then we can help to structure a plan that's specific to you. Everybody, as I mentioned earlier, everybody's different as to where they start, where they end up. Unfortunately, if you go into most financial advisors, most Wall Street advisors out there will have several hundred, if not thousands of clients. They cannot devote enough time to each individual to have what is really the ideal portfolio, the ideal strategy and combination of assets that's right for you.
And just to shed some light on that, we did the stats on that a long time ago. Most people that have a broker advisor, which is having like a 401k or IRA with somebody, the majority of those people don't have enough. So if they're not getting you there, it might be advantageous to think about doing something a little bit different, but not only think about it, act upon it.
Yeah, and I think you ask yourself this: if the market goes 3 different directions, how many directions are you benefiting? For most of you listening, it's only one direction,
and that's all they know.
Market goes up.
That's all they know.
But what about Wall Street? What about the financial advisors? How many directions are they benefiting from you? All 3 directions, because they're taking a percent of your assets or whatever the cost is, whether it's a commission based, it's fee based, it's product based, whatever it is. They're benefiting no matter what happens.
And it's kind of like that the old saying, "Do as I say, not as I do." So they're telling you, hey, here's what I'm saying you should do, but I'm going to do something totally opposite. And quite frankly, it might be taking the other side of your trade. There's a potential that's happening out there.
So let's flip that. Do as I do, not as I say.
And where can people get started to learn that?
At the online, or at the Trading Academy.
Yeah, at those free workshops. And we have these workshops all across the metro area. We have these classes during the week, the weekend, evenings, daytime. That way you can get started with how to do that, but also how to execute a plan and a strategy is designed for what you actually need out of the market. So I'd like to invite you to one of these free trading and investing workshops to get started with whatever strategy that you're looking to develop or even understand more about. I work with a lot of people too, and sometimes I hear, I just want to gain some more knowledge. Well, what is that knowledge going to do for you? So it starts with that knowledge, which is probably why you're listening to the show. We got thousands and thousands of listeners, Al, that are listening to the show all across the country and the world. On the podcast, we have several countries where people are listening to the podcast, the Investing and Trading Live podcast. So if that's you, if you're looking to level up a little bit, just come in one of these classes just by texting the word investing to the number 210 right now for 2 seats. You can get one for you and your spouse. When you do that, you're going to get a text right back, and there'll be a link to the landing page. Or you can just go straight to the landing page, which is tradingacademy.com. If you're on the old www interweb, tradingacademy.com, and pick your own seat and your own date there. Also, make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Just go to Investing and Trading Live and pick out some of the outtakes there. I think we're on almost 1,320 something episodes. So coming up next, we have a lot more to discuss. We're going to talk a little bit more about why people are coming to the Academy. And it's a lot of times it might not be exactly what you think. This is Josh and Al with Investing and Trading Live. We will be right back. All right, so 9:15, I got to fix that. Someone said online. That's easy to do, isn't it?
It is. It just came out.
There you go. So we'll save this bad boy. Stay live on the YouTuber. Thanks for all the listeners on YouTube. Appreciate it. All right, so we got 6.21. So let's talk about why people are coming to the academy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, segment 4. Here we go. All right. Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trade Academy. As always, I am your host, Josh Lillquist. On the last segment, we covered the topics on retirement, why people are looking to build for retirement, some of the things they're looking to do, and strategies designed for those times, that those golden years of your life. And that's where you don't want to spend those golden years at the Golden Arches. We had a lot of people texting in for the free investing and trading workshop. If you did miss seats for that, simply just text the word investing, and that's going to be to the number 210-210. If you're driving, you might want to pull over. Text the word investing to the number 210-210 for 2 seats for a free trading and investing workshop, or just go to tradingacademy.com and you can pick your own seat and your own date there. You have these classes during the days, the evenings, weeks, and weekends, so anybody can attend. Yes, even you, 9-to-5ers. Also, follow and subscribe to the podcast. We're making the global #1 financial podcast just by going to Investing and Trading Live, wherever you listen to your podcast. That's Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. So, Alan, this next segment, as I mentioned throughout the show, the doors are being flooded right now with people that are looking to build these skills of investing and the trading side as well. So we got 2 components here. We got the trading side, which we'll call your income strategies. Then you have the investing side, which would be investing for the quote unquote long term, the retirement. As I mentioned in the last segment, not spending those golden years at the Golden Arches. They want to be able to build a skill and a strategy where they don't have to draw down those retirement accounts quick. And what the biggest thing I've been seeing, and I'll let you talk more about this, is people are wanting to build an estate or a legacy for their family. And I know you've been, especially lately, you've been talking with a lot of people who are kind of in that same boat, people that are planning for retirement and planning for building something for them and their families. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you're hearing other than that, where people are coming to the academy, coming to these free trading and investing workshops? And what are some of the things that they're looking to accomplish with the markets?
Yeah, pretty much any story you can think of, we're seeing that. But you mentioned one. A lot of people want to leave a legacy, but they realize that by the time they retire, they're through with their retirement years and basically exiting the earth. There isn't enough left there for their kids or for whatever that legacy is. Maybe it's a charitable organization. We have students that come in with special needs kids, and they want to make sure that maybe they have a trust set up for those kids. Mm-hmm. Some people just want to travel and spend a lot of money, but that it's just not there.
And it's just not getting any cheaper to travel. I've traveled a couple times this month already, and one of the flights in the country, in the U.S., was like $700. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, in anything that you do, whether if you're going out to a restaurant, if you want to take your kids to Disney, most people have to take out a home equity loan just to take their kids to Disney for a day.
And heaven forbid you want to fly first class. Unless you get upgraded, it's cost an arm and a leg, it feels like, to fly first class. But people want to be able to have those experiences. Sure. Yeah. So you need that capital to do that.
Yeah, again, it's being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it without having to worry about the financial part of it. And for a lot of people, they're not at that point where they feel that comfortable and they want to know how to make a change. And I'm going to say this: if you really want to change your life, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you're going to find an excuse. Excuses are easy, but for a lot of people, the way to change their life is by having us help them. I mean, the classes that we teach, and you mentioned income and wealth, so let me talk about that a second. There's a difference in the way you use the market for income as there is for wealth. So part of the way you can change your life financially, number one, is to learn how to generate additional sources of income other than multiple jobs. And that's a skill. Once you develop that skill, you can use in retirement too. But the other things you need to be concerned about are protecting your assets. If you're working hard or you're investing and you have some profits, make sure that those profits stay with you and don't end up in somebody else's pocket, like they can if we go through a bear market or even just a market correction. And then if you're going to be able to, I think, live your retirement years in a secure financial way, you have to have exposure to the markets. Going into fixed income vehicles, which is kind of the way Wall Street has always done this, when you go into retirement, you switch from what got you to where you are financially to something that didn't. So you're going from primarily an equity related portfolio to now more of a fixed income related portfolio. When you look at the impact of inflation and fees taken away from those fixed income vehicles, there's not much left there. So if you want to make it through 20, 30 or more years in retirement, maybe 40 years in retirement, you pretty much have to have exposure to the market. So you need to be able to use them properly, but at the same time generate income, because the income from your job is no longer there.
Yeah.
And the bills, the cost of living still is.
Here's an example to that is, if you are trying to build something, you can't just stop when you get to a certain point and then just draw it off of it, right?
Correct.
So let's just say you're going to drive to, we'll say, Miami, Florida, and you're continuing to put gas in your car every so often, right? You're replenishing that gas tank, and then you get to, we'll say, Tallahassee, which is much more north of Miami.
Correct.
And you decide, you know what? I'm just going to stop filling this gas tank, and I'm just going to just use it all. And then eventually that gas tank is empty. And then you're sitting on the side of the road saying, what the heck do we do now? And that's what's happening with people's retirement plans. They're getting to retirement. They've built it up to retirement. They retire, and then they just use it, and it's gone. Yeah. So then they're stuck. They're saying, honey, what do we do next?
Yeah. And for a lot of people, the strategies that they're using in their retirement accounts is something that was developed maybe 40 or 50 years ago. And that may not, in fact, probably is not the most beneficial for you now.
Yeah, so, very, very similar to my phone system that I have. I mean, I try to make as many calls per day as I can, but I'm using that rotary phone. It works pretty well.
Okay.
Same example, right?
Yeah, exactly. Things change over the course of time.
I bet you didn't know I even knew what that was, did you?
I'm still not sure you know what it is. But I think.
I had them on my wall. We had several, and that was in my bedroom until I was about probably a senior in high school.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's some kids now that wouldn't even know how to use it.
They wouldn't even know what it is.
They wouldn't know what it is, but you can tell them to make a phone call.
There are videos online about kids with a rotary phone, and they say, "What is this thing?"
Yeah, it's hilarious.
What is this dinosaur? Anywho,
and people used to travel by horseback or covered wagon.
And
we don't do that anymore.
And used to walk uphill both ways to school in a snowstorm. Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
My dad, he did every single day. He said,
"Yeah, it was uphill both ways."
Uphill both ways, yeah.
Yeah, we hear that story a lot.
Yeah.
Even some of the companies that people have invested in. If you were buying something and just were told to hold on to it, what if you had stock in Blockbuster? That worked out for you. If you bought Intel in the year 2000 at $74 a share, 25 years later, you own it at about $19 a share.
Yeah, and Intel's a good company.
It's a great company.
Mm-hmm. So that's why the stock is not the company, and the company is not the stock. And that's some of the things that we talk about in these free trading and investing workshops.
Yeah, and really, what's more important isn't necessarily what you're investing in. Is this the right time to invest in it? Because there are great companies out there that are so highly overvalued that they're just not good investments at this point in time.
Yeah.
So, and those are all that's all part of a financial education, and all part of building the skills to use that education.
Yeah, well, it's financial literacy is what it comes down to. And to sum it all up, people are looking for help. And that's what Trading Academy does. Trading Academy is a physical place. It's an academy located right here in Bloomington. We have locations all across the country, actually. And physical locations, brick and mortar, to help people gain that financial confidence back, level up their game, whether it's trading strategies or it's retirement strategies. And I think that, Al, is probably one of the bigger things that I've been seeing lately is so many people that are, especially listening to the radio here, they're coming in and say, hey, you were talking on the radio about 401ks, IRAs, retirement strategies, and I didn't even know that I could do something different with them. So they're like, what can I do? And that's some of the questions that people come in with. And that's why we encourage you, bring whatever questions that you have. If there's a topic that we discussed here on the radio today or over the several years that we've been on, we're probably one of the longest reigning financial radio shows that in the metro here. Matter of fact, we got 1,300 and almost 1,320 something episodes on the podcast, Investing and Trading Live. So probably have more sessions than anybody out there about the financial markets and helping people with that financial literacy. If that's you, just come into one of these free trading and investing workshops to gain more insight, to gain that insight on what you can do with those retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, or if it's a trading account that you want to build an income strategy for. Bring those questions in, and Al and I can help with those. Text the word investing to the number 210-210 right now for 2 seats for that free trading and investing workshop right here at the Academy. We're located in Bloomington, but we do have locations all across the metro area. We're coming to neighborhoods near you several times per week. Text investing to the number 210-210. When you do that, you'll get a text right back, and that'll be a link to our landing page. Just click that link, and then you can pick your own seat and date there, or just go straight to tradingacademy.com and you can pick your own seat and date there. Al, we've had a great discussion here today. It's nice having you back on the show here today. I do a lot of traveling. I did this show live from Boston, Massachusetts last week, and might be live from who knows, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or Denver, Colorado. It's nice we can do these shows mobile these days. Let's hear today's tip of the week.
Okay, in order to succeed at anything, you have to make a decision. Not a hope or a wish, but a decision to take the responsibility for where you are now and where you want to be, and then do something about it. If you want more control over your time, more control over your financial well-being, you can have it, but you have to take the responsibility to get it. Everybody has challenges. Successful people take on those challenges, and then they concentrate on what could go right, not on what could go wrong. Success is the result of doing the right things the right way and doing them repeatedly.
And it all starts with a little bit of action. Al, where is that place? Trading Academy, to learn these skills and objectives on gaining that financial confidence back. Text investing to the number 210-210, Trading Academy. Invest differently, smarter, skillfully. As always, same time, same place next week. Until then, retire young, my friends.